What's up, guys? Nick Renzi here from NAR Supply Co. And I just wanted to talk about my recent trip down the Grand Canyon, down the Colorado River with Astral, and go over some of the gear that I liked and some of the gear that I didn't, and maybe what I would do differently next time. So I guess I'll start at the bottom. I wore these Astral shoes most days, very lightweight. They have drainage. They're specifically designed for rafting and kind of water adventures and hiking, and I thought these were really, really great shoes and a great addition to my gear without adding too much weight. I did also bring these Tevas, which I didn't really like. I'm not like a big Teva guy. I think if I were to do it again, I'd probably bring Crocs instead of these Tevas. My brother had Crocs, my dad had Crocs, and I wish I had had Crocs. So there's that. Another piece of gear would be these dry pants by NRS, and they've got the built-in socks, and I did wear neoprene socks underneath these on colder days, and the water when we started was around 50, so you know that's pretty cold. I do wish that I bought these in a larger size. This is a medium. I wish I'd bought a large. They were just a little tight on me, but they honestly function great. And underneath those most days I wore my NAR Supply Co. full-length uninsulated pants, which were great. And then most nights around camp I wore these too. And I wore my UPF hoodie every single day with removable lanyard and the hood, which was great for floating down the river when it was sunny, kept the sun off me, you know, kept me cool and really held up, you know, in the desert. There was a lot of sand, there was a lot of dirt, and yeah, it performed great. I mean, I'm obviously a little biased, but whatever. The next piece of gear was I decided to bring this Sims fishing jacket, which has a cinchable neoprene neck sleeve. And so on those cold days rafting, you know, when you're hitting bigger rapids and getting splashed, this really kept me warm, kept the water off me, and was all around a really great jacket. The one thing I will say is that it's a little heavy. You know, we had a 9-mile hike out on the Bright Angel Trail at the end, and that was like an elevation gain of 4,800 feet or so. You know, a pretty solid 5-hour hike, you know, like not easy. And it was raining, so we started out, I was hiking in this, and I was like sweating. You know, it was raining, but this thing was like a sauna, so it's not very breathable. It's just not really designed for hiking, which I knew going into it, but I was cautious of the weight of my pack, which still ended up being 50 pounds. But that's also because I took like 10 pounds of my mom's stuff who didn't know if she'd be able to make the hike out with a full pack. So I can't decide if I would bring this again or if I would bring kind of like a lighter weight raincoat or a lighter weight splash jacket and then a raincoat separately. It obviously doesn't rain very often in the desert, so that's just, you know, not something that I was that concerned about, but it did kind of, you know, we got a few showers and it honestly was a little colder than normal, I would say, for our trip. So the next piece of gear would be this Exo Mountain backpack. So this is technically a hunting backpack, like a backcountry hunting bag. And I do a bit of hunting, so I didn't go with like the traditional Osprey hiking backpack, which is what my family went with, and those are extremely lightweight. But this is designed to carry a lot of weight, and so I kind of had more weight than I probably needed, but this pack was great. You know, 50 pounds on this, just it felt pretty good, honestly. And I have back problems, and I just like love this lumbar support here. And yeah, the Nalgene right there. I do kind of wish that I had brought a water bladder. But having a Nalgene here and like easily accessible, it was fine. It was fine, honestly. Yeah, and I really do love this pack. I mean, this is like a serious pack. Something else I had brought was this solar charger. So this was great for recharging my GoPro, which I brought and filmed, you know, probably most of the rapids with. And I think I only had to charge my phone once, which I only used for messaging my wife every night because she was 8 months pregnant. So shout out to her for letting me go on this. We do have a 5-day-old right now. His name is Rory. So thank you to my wife for letting me go on this trip. It was amazing, and I hope we get to go together. And the way I communicated with her too, because there's no service, is I had this Garmin, and so I just signed up for the subscription for InReach, and it was like $50 for the month for the unlimited plan, and I was like, okay, I'll just pay for that, and it'll be unlimited, and I don't have to worry about, you know, how many times I message her, and it worked great. I really do love Garmin products. I've had this Garmin MK3i for a while. My wife and I dive, and I bought one for her as well, and it's cool because you can communicate underwater, so they're transceivers. And so you have a transceiver that screws into your tank, and it connects to your watch, and then my wife has a watch, and she has a transceiver that screws into her tank, and it's very cool how it works. You can communicate underwater via preloaded messages or send an SOS or something like that, and it just tracks everything. You know, I use this for working out, I use this for hiking, I use it for diving. I really use it for everything, and I absolutely love it. And then while I'm looking at my shirt, I guess I should I want to point out some features of this too. You got the sunglass loop here. You got the kangaroo pouch with a removable lanyard. So this came in handy because often I would clip my phone to this in its waterproof case, and because obviously I did want to use my phone to take pictures while on the raft too, and not just my GoPro. So this came in handy. I'll show you an example of how this works. So this is a Night Eyes waterproof bag, and this isn't the exact one I used, but you clip it on here, and now you can take your, you know, your phone can stay in there. Obviously you'd have one, you know, specifically designed for an iPhone, but so now it's in here, and you take it out to take a photo, and, you know, pretend this is like an actual iPhone one, take a photo. Oh, I drop it. Oh, it's all right. It's still attached to me. So that came in handy. I did also attach my GoPro to it a few times. And then there's also a rear pouch back here. So you can stash, you know, whatever you want back there. You know, if you're going on a bike ride or something, you want to stash a Cliff Bar, or you want to put your phone back there instead when you're biking, so it doesn't, you know, it's not on your legs. Or you want to put a tech pouch back there, like a, you know, bike tool, stuff like that. So yeah. Overall, the trip was really cool. I do kind of wish I had brought my camera. So I have like a Nikon ZF camera, and I was gonna bring this lens, which is a 70-24, and I didn't end up bringing it because this was the bag I had intended on bringing it in. But the way we stored our stuff on the boat is we had cylindrical dry bags with roll tops, and I felt that this would not be protected enough in there, in this and then in that bag. We had two bags, one that came out at night, which had, like, you know, all of our nighttime stuff and change of clothes, and then we had one that was accessible on the boat, which was a smaller one, and you'd, you know, attach your water bottles to it, attach like an extra sun shirt, or, you know, put your sunscreen in there, just kind of stuff you wanted access to throughout the day because you couldn't get to the bigger bag until you arrived at camp at night. So I think if I were to bring this, I would have had to have a hard case, you know, maybe like some sort of pelican case, and I mean, it's not light, you know, but I guess if I hadn't been carrying my mom's 10 pounds and I had packed maybe more efficiently, um, I probably could have brought this and it would have been okay in a pelican case. So that's kind of the other thing I wanted to talk about. I brought, you know, like these pants, which I wore every day, and honestly, these were the only pair of pants that I really needed. I also brought two pairs of like long johns or leggings, which was recommended by the company. I never wore those. I didn't need them. I brought like 5 pairs of boxers. I probably could have brought more, maybe just like one more pair. It was actually kind of hard to like wash them out, even though the river was there and we had like biodegradable soap. They just like didn't get that clean, so I wish I had brought an extra pair. And then I also I brought Stone Glacier merino wool socks, which were amazing. I really love those socks, and I think I had enough socks. I brought 3 pairs of those. Um, you know, you do sweat, but it's also very dry. So like whatever, you could have brought more because they're obviously very lightweight and don't take up a lot of room. Um, let's see what else. Oh yeah, I brought a full zip. So the full zip I had was a Fall Raven full zip, and that was great. It was like very lightweight, very breathable, and something extra I probably didn't need to bring was I had brought a like a 3/4 zip Stone Glacier hoodie, and so that was just kind of like redundant to have two kind of like fleece pullovers. So I didn't really need that. So I probably could have nixed that. And then the other thing I brought, which I don't really know if I needed, was I brought my insulated version of these. And I did wear them on one night because it was pretty cold and it was pretty windy, and I was very comfortable. But they do just take up a bit of room. So maybe, you know, maybe I would have brought like a size large of these, which would have fit one pair of long johns. But even if I didn't do that, I probably would have been warm enough and been fine. Um, the other thing I brought, which I didn't needed, was like a full size synthetic down, the Patagonia puffy jacket. I brought like, I don't know what I was thinking. I brought like the biggest version of that, which I definitely didn't need, like a Patagonia Nano Puff, or like something through Mammut that was like, you know, on the thinner side would have been absolutely perfect. And then I was kind of thinking about like the raincoat thing, and I have an Arc'teryx. I think I have like the Beta SL or something, and to me that's kind of like too nice of a jacket to bring into the desert. Like I feel like that's more designed toward like winter or like heavy clean rain. Like I feel like it really would have gotten kind of trashed in the desert. You know, like everything is just like very unforgiving there. There are cactus and there's just so much sand, and the rock is just so abrasive. So I think I probably would have brought like a less expensive lightweight jacket, maybe one from Cool. Um, and it would have just been like super packable, and I wouldn't have been worried about kind of like trashing it really. Um, so that's probably something I would have brought. Um, but yeah, I kind of think that's it. I can't think of anything else really. I mean, other than that, like the trip was insanely fun, and I highly recommend it. Azra is a great company, and the guides were awesome. The food was awesome, and the experience was just like really, really cool. I had never been to the Grand Canyon before, you know, just so seeing it for the first time from the canyon, and just, you know, starting up at Lee's Ferry, where the canyon walls are low, you drop into the river, and then just like every day the walls just climb and climb and climb, and I mean it's just amazing. And then seeing where the Little Colorado came into the Big Colorado, and just that like pearl blue water, um, was pretty insane. I mean, it's just an amazing place, and the history there is pretty deep. And you know, I know there's controversy over the dams and stuff, and it's just like it's a lot of history, and it's just an amazing amazing place. So I would highly recommend going if you can. The trip was honestly like, there were a lot of older people in the group. My mom was 60. This was for her 60th birthday, and then there were even older couples doing it. And this was not like an easy trip by any means. You know what I mean? Getting on a raft and rafting, 10 miles a day, getting off, getting soaked, getting off the boat, setting up camp, helping set up dinner. The guides cook you dinner. They've got to be exhausted. There's only one paddle boat, so we paddled, like one of the biggest rapid days, my family of 6, which was really cool. But other days we would just sit and the guides would row us on the bigger boats, which I found a little boring, but it was cool to like take in, just like really sit there and take in the canyon. That was pretty cool. On the other hand, I wouldn't have wanted to row every day in that paddle boat. Um, it's just a lot of rowing, and when you do row, you do miss the canyon, right? You're paying attention to the water. So like that big rapid day, I mean, it was kind of like rapid after rapid after rapid, and you're focusing and you're paddling hard, um, you know. So it's fun, and it's enjoyable, but you don't. It's yeah. So it's kind of there's trade-offs, which is interesting, but it's cool that Azra has 3 style of boats on one trip, and you get to rotate. So there was also a dory, one of the first boats to go down, or not one of the first boats to go down, but a very older, kind of like traditional rafting boat, made from aluminum. So you can't bounce off rocks with it. It's not inflatable, and it's crewed by one person, and you can fit, I think, up to 4 people, kind of 4 passengers, and it's not self-bailing, so you have to bail it. So that's kind of fun. You're like doing something, and it's like very rocky and rolly. So you're almost like riding a bull, when you're going through rapids on that, which is pretty cool. So all in all, amazing trip. I think I hit all the gear, and yeah, I hope we get to go back and do the lower half of the Colorado. And yeah, so if you have any gear questions or anything like that, or suggestions, or yeah, let me know. Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.